Today we're going to start, I'm going to show you how to lay out this wing. We're going to build this as a millennial wing, and how I'm going to do that is first I need to lay it out. Well, I know that this, here we go, that this dimension is 10 and an eighth. So we need our inside, where our leading and trailing edges are going to go, to be set back. They're going to be set back right there. So 10 and an eighth will make that mark. We're just taking some measurements here. And I'm going to need a spar, and I want to keep the spar in the center of the wing. So we're going to mount the spar on this second spot here where they have their spars in. We're going to make our sheeting a little different, but that's alright. As I stated before, there's no rule in classic saying that you have to build it exactly like the original. It just has to have the same numbers. So the outboard rib thickness at that spar is 1 and 15/16. So we're going to go tip rib 1 and 15/16, and in that same exact spot the root rib has to be 2 and a 16th. 2, let me measure that again, make sure that's correct. Yeah, it looks correct. 2 and a 16th. I'll show you why that's important in a moment here. T. And now we need to figure out what the inboard is. I think there's an inch of asymmetry, but I'm not sure. I'm going to pick some nice straight grained wood. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw a center line on it, because we want our spar to be centered. And if we only get one out of each side, that's alright. This center line is what keeps the wing straight. Everything gets built off that center line. So, 1 and 15/16 at the tip. And I'm going to have to, we're only going to get one out of each one. But that's okay. I guess about the best thing to do would be to square up. Yeah, it doesn't matter yet. So we want 1 and 15/16. So that looks awful thick for some reason. But that's how it is. Oh, I guess it's because it's farther back in the wing. Alright. So we have 1 15/16. 1 15/16. We'll mark that there. So that's the tip. Then we had 2 1/16, but it was, we'll do the outboard first. And the length of the outboard was 23. So let's go ahead and square that up first. I hope everybody saw how I squared that up. Just take the square and I just sand it square. And we're going to measure 23 inches. And we'll make it square. And now it's 2 1/16 at the root. So that's exactly right. So I hope everybody's got a kind of an idea how to lay out this wing and figure out what you need for the spar. It's not real complicated. So there we have that. Let's cut some wood, and we'll cut the inboard side, and hopefully it will stay straight. Let it breathe for a second, and then we'll cut up some plywood and make the doubler. Now, the inboard is easier because we're going to use this to duplicate the measurements. Now, these pieces aren't much good for anything. I mean, you could save them, but I've got so much scrap here in the shop, I don't bother to save this anymore. And I used to save every little scrap piece you could imagine. Okay, if you look at this, you'll notice the grain runs off at an angle, like so. This is not a good piece of wood for a spar. Now this, on the other hand, is straight grain and has a hard spot there, but we'll cut that out. So, this is the outboard. So we'll write out on it, O-U-T. Now we're going to make the inboard. And we'll make a mark here. Make a mark here. Inch and a half That way, when we square this up, it'll be square. 1.5 inches. Inch and a half more. My eye is right on the money. Stay tuned to this because I'm going to work on this now this month and try to get this all framed up here post haste, because this airplane is owed to somebody and I need to get it done so I can get back on to painting. I have no time for my own stuff. So let's measure out 3/4 inch more. Make a mark. We'll cut this off. And now we're just going to mirror it. So this is the this is root. That's tip. If anybody has any questions about this, to me, if you watch me do this, it's pretty self-explanatory. And I think that's what makes my videos a little different. I mean, Wendy's a good builder. Don't get me wrong, he's a great builder. But it takes him so many hours to make something, thinking and measuring, and you kind of lose interest. So let's throw this stuff out. And this is the inboard side. I didn't get it quite right. So I gotta cut them pen lines off. Anybody notice my new haircut? Okay, that's exact there. It's exact there, but it ain't exact on the tip. What the heck is going on here? Take the pen line off. But it's a whole lot easier to take the pen line off than to add a sliver of wood. try again. I'll try to edit that out. I think I'm learning about these millennial wings. You know, coming up with better ways to do things. Kind of like how I did the battery box. That's, yeah, we could still a little bit of that pen line left on. Let's take one more slice at this. I want it perfect. That should be perfect. Yep. So we're building our spar here. We need to make sure this line is straight, because we don't want to build any dihedral in it. So I'll put a little bit of CA on this center line and then we'll adjust it. Just tack it there. It's way off, so I have to sand a little bit on the. I have to sand a little bit on this. Careful preparation in this step right here is whether your wing is going to be perfectly straight or not. It may have a straight trailing edge, but still end up with dihedral in it. And that's pretty good right there. So let's tack it and see what happens. So I'll get some wax paper. We'll then, I have some plywood, we'll then cut the center brace. So tack it on the corner. That way you can, if you look, you see you can still move this. We'll get the long straight edge now. Make sure we got it perfectly straight. This is basically the same as building an I-beam. This is a kind of a D-tube I-beam. So there we have that. Now there's a slight gap there. You think, well, what are we going to do? It's Sand a little bit, put a little dust in there, and hit it again with CA. And that's it. I suppose you could do an I-beam exactly like that. Then put a little dust in that crack there and hit it with some CA. Do it again. Now, you certainly wouldn't want to try to build a wing without some type of doubler in the center here. Would it work? Probably. Probably, until the wind came up. And then that thing would fold right in the center. I mean, I could probably engineer it without a doubler, but it's just as easy to add the doubler. Now you gotta think. This is a 32nd ply, and we wanna make our doubler, because we're building our wings so light. We want to make our doubler run out to the landing gear area, at least on the forward side of the spar. So we have 11 inches. It's an 11-inch breast for the landing gear, so 22 inches long when we got doubler piece. So we have 24 here. So we'll just go ahead and make it 24. So we'll measure over 12. And draw it out. So there's our doubler. One of them. More than likely I'll make one exactly like that. You know, if you guys were to, if I were to actually run this camera, and I were to actually stand at this bench and let the camera run, you probably could watch me build this entire wing in one day. But I like to do some other things. Back when I was working on Harleys, this didn't get old because I'd go to work on motorcycles. Well, doing this all day gets old. So, you know, one thing I've been telling you about the X-Acto blades that I get on eBay, which aren't, they're scalpels. They are good for cutting balsa wood, but not very good for cutting plywood. So I am going to see if I can find a regular X-Acto blade in my pile of junk here, which I do have right here. And we'll get a regular handle. You can't push hard enough on those scalpels, they'll break. But we have a fix for that. So big difference. And then of course we'll sand it straight. I'll have to cut a bell crank passage in the middle. And there we go. So it should be pretty close to the same size. Needs a little sanding. When you have a piece like this and you need to sand it, you can do that by laying it on the workbench, laying your yardstick on it or a piece of wood or whatever, putting your weight on it, and then taking your block and sanding it. And if you really want to get it super slick, you can put the straight edge right up to it and sand it right up to the straight edge so that it's perfectly straight. A little trick from Sparky's bench. If you have to, you can clamp it to the bench even. Be sure to like, subscribe, share my videos. We're over the 500 mark. And the URL now works, which is good. But I'd still like to have 1,000. So we can, so I'm going after Tower Hobby and Hobby King. Need some sponsorship so we can give away some stuff.